welcome back to my channel. Today I am with Mr. Becker, the head of school of Taft, and we are going to be continuing our series of interviews with different people. So great to have you here, Mr. Becker.
Thanks for having me.
Do you want to start with introducing yourself?
Sure. Talk to the people. Hi, I'm Peter Becker. I'm the head of school at Taft, finishing up my first year here in the 23-24 school year. I'm a Taft grad, class of 95. Married my wife, who's Taft class of 94. I have worked in education for 20 years, 9 of those as a teacher, coach, dorm head, department head at Lawrenceville School, and 11 years as head of school at the Frederick Gunn School in Washington, Connecticut.
My first question for you, Mr. Becker, is about your life at Taft now compared to your life when you were a student. So what is the biggest difference between Taft then and now?
One big difference is I now have a key that gets me into every room in the school, so that's sort of a lifelong dream come true. I think more seriously, it's like two different worlds. I think coming back as an employee, as the head of school, is to see this place through completely different lenses, to bear some responsibility for the institution as a whole. As a student, I spoke about this at school meeting yesterday, as a student, you kind of wander everywhere. I'm actually having to work much harder than I considered to get outside of the centrifugal pull of this office or main hall. So that's something that as I go into year 2, I'm thinking about a lot.
Yeah, that's great. The second question to you is, what do you love most about Taft?
So for me, I've been we're trying to meet with every employee of the school. So I meet 20 minutes and I ask them a series of questions and then we have a chat. And the vast majority of people, when I ask them what's a particular strength of the school, they talk about the relationships between students and teachers. And so when you ask what's something I love, it's people. This is a school as strong as we are academically, in the arts, athletically, all of that is fundamentally about people. The student-to-student relationships, student-faculty relationships, and honestly, our relationships with one another as colleagues is absolutely the first thing that comes to mind when I think about what I love about it today.
Yeah, I know that as a tour guide at Taft, when I bring prospective families around the school, and everybody says hi to each other, everybody says hi to me, and I say the same to everybody. The prospective families, a really common feedback is that everybody is so they can know each other so well, and everybody is so close, and I think that's also something I love about Taft. After a year of being the head of school, what is something that you look back to and you're the most proud of, an initiative or something you have done at Taft right now?
I can't say there's anything in particular that I've done that I'm proud of. Year 1 is a lot of learning, a lot of getting oriented, meeting so many different people, certainly students, faculty, colleagues, alumni, parents. I would say one thing I'm particularly grateful for, just as sort of an early initiative, we had some feedback from new families that we could be more intentional about how we welcomed people to the school. Kind of, if you think about April 10th as the date by which you have to decide whether you're coming here or another school, from April 10th to call it September 1st. And so one of my colleagues, Jess Shannon, in the admission office, has led a great initiative to really revamp and make more intentional and more integrated the experience of that kind of welcome and onboarding. And one thing that Taft, I think, can always get better at, and this is true for every boarding school, is there's such wonderfully intense communities once you're here, and especially once you get oriented, you're like, oh, I know where everything is and who the people are and where to go for help and all that. But you forget about that. And so to put ourselves in the shoes of the person who is completely new and to say, what does it mean for us to welcome them in? So I'm really that's not my initiative. Mrs. Shannon and others have led it, and the early returns are positive, but part of it is also, this is year one, and so we're going to be looking for feedback and that kind of thing. So there have been a lot of those types of things, but that's the one that comes to mind as kind of most concrete for next year.
Yeah, I know coming in as a freshman, I remember one of my favorite parts about Taft was actually the old girl, old boy, like mentor program. It was a lot better to have somebody like guide me into the community. And so definitely. Another question is, so looking forward, what are some like goals and priorities you have for like the next school year or beyond?
Next year will be exciting. We are going to do strategic planning. So we will create a plan for not just the next 3 to 5 years, but kind of longer term. That will include everyone in the school and then kind of the school constituency, including alumni and parents. And it's a real opportunity for us as a school to step back and say, even with all the strengths of this school, how do we make it even better? What do we want Taft to stand for? What are really our principles of practice, of education? And then say, based on that, what kind of future do we want to create for the school, but more importantly for the students in it? So that is an exciting prospect. It will lead to much more work. Part of that will also be a lot of campus planning. We have a lot of opportunities for I think upgrading and rethinking our beautiful built environment here. And so those are two, I think, pretty exciting projects. The long-term potential for Taft is what drew Mrs. Becker and me back to the school in the first place. So I'm excited to do that work. The board has done a lot of work to get ready for that, and it will be really exciting.
Yeah, I feel like Taft has such I think a really strong fundamental to build off of. So always something exciting to look forward to. My last question is, what is a piece of advice you would give to a new incoming student for next year? Or
When I was a student here, Lance Otten was the head of school. And fast forward to when I was interviewing to be head of school at my last school, Lance was one of the people I reached out to for advice. And so, it's a bit like going to visit Yoda. You're like, oh my gosh, you're the wisest person I've ever known. And so I said, what advice do you have? And he looked at me and he said, just be yourself. And I thought, I can read that on a bumper sticker. Give me something that no one else has ever said before. And I said that to him. He said, no, really, just be yourself. And I really didn't know what to make of it at the time. But even then, in that process, I realized there were moments where I needed to just be straightforward, tell people what I thought. When I think back to when I started at Taft, it's really easy to want to conform to fit a mold and think that'll make it easier to be here. I would hope that students resist that temptation and just be themselves and let us get good as an institution, as individual students and colleagues and faculty to welcome you just the way you are, because that will make us better and more interesting place. Yeah,
I think that relates really well to Mr. Allen's quote of leaning into discomfort. And it's so important in the classroom, outside the classroom, to what I've learned is to stick to your values and see how it reflects with others, and then maybe you would combine to be something even greater. And so that's really great advice, Mr. Becker.
And I'm going to add one more thing, which is in that realm of advice, be yourself, and then find other people who think differently from you. It's the inclination is to go sort of birds of a feather, flock together, safety in numbers, totally get that. And find people who are going to challenge your assumptions, because that way we're all going to just think more creatively and develop more wisdom. So those two things together, be yourself and then find people who are going to sharpen your thinking and help you expand your concept of what's true.
Yeah, I feel like Taft also feels like a really good community for that too, because it's so diverse.
Yeah.
There's so many different opinions and thoughts and beliefs that it's like a really great, like, productive community. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for the interview, Mr. Becker.
Thanks for having me, Fiona. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching, and hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.